The acid rain dissolved Moulton's breathing apparatus, while Jude simply pulled his hood tighter and kept walking. Steam rose from the corroded metal fragments as they clattered across the basalt. The Kithran biologist's 4 lung chambers wheezed through emergency backup filters, each breath a labored symphony of mechanical clicks and biological desperation. Purple ichor leaked from where the atmospheric toxins had burned through his protective suit. Jude glanced back without breaking stride. Nice morning for a stroll, he thought. The human's casual assessment would have horrified Moulton if the alien had possessed the capacity for higher cognitive functions at that moment. Instead, Moulton's neural pathways focused entirely on the increasingly futile task of cellular respiration, as Caris Prime's atmosphere continued its systematic assault on every biological system he possessed. The research expedition had begun 18 cycles ago with such promise. Caris Prime, a Class 15 Extinction world abandoned by the Galactic Surveyor Corps after preliminary scans revealed atmospheric conditions incompatible with known life. Sulfuric compounds that liquefied organic tissue, radiation levels that resequenced DNA in real time, temperature fluctuations between scalding heat and flash-freezing cold that occurred without warning or pattern. The perfect laboratory for studying planetary death. Moulton's academic excitement had peaked when their survey shuttle's long-range sensors detected the impossible. A functioning beacon transmitting from the planet's northern continent. Something was not only surviving on Caris Prime, it was actively broadcasting. The landing had been textbook perfect. The equipment failure had been textbook catastrophic. Now their extraction shuttle lay in twisted wreckage 300 kilometers away. Its hull cracked open like a shell, and its crew compartment flooded with liquid poison that had once been breathable atmosphere. The emergency beacon pulsed weakly beneath tons of crystallized acid rain, its signal barely strong enough to penetrate the magnetic storms that raged perpetually in Caris Prime's ionosphere. 273 kilometers remaining to reach the functioning beacon they detected. Moulton's legs buckled. Jude stopped walking and turned around, his expression carrying that peculiar human blend of patience and mild irritation that Moulton had observed during their voyage. The human wore standard issue environmental gear, the same lightweight fabric that had proven laughably inadequate for 3 other crew members who died in the first hour after crash landing. Steam rose from Jude's shoulders where the acidic moisture struck his jacket. The fabric didn't dissolve. Moulton's scientific mind, even compromised by oxygen deprivation, registered this impossibility with growing alarm. Jude walked back through the toxic fog without apparent concern. "You okay there, partner?" The casualness of the question struck Moulton as profoundly disturbing. Okay implied a baseline condition that bore no relationship to their current circumstances. Nothing about Caris Prime qualified as okay by any scientific standard Moulton understood. "My breathing apparatus is compromised," Moulton managed through damaged vocal cords. The admission felt like confessing weakness to a deity. Jude knelt beside the fallen alien with practiced efficiency. His gloved hands moved with surgical precision as he examined Moulton's equipment. The human's proximity brought relief from the worst of the atmospheric assault. Somehow, Jude's body heat created a microclimate that reduced the concentration of corrosive compounds in the immediate area. Another impossibility. This planet shouldn't support human biology any better than Kithran physiology. Humans breathed oxygen and nitrogen in ratios similar to most galactic species. Their skin was permeable tissue that should have dissolved at first contact with Caris Prime's acidic environment. Their internal temperature regulation relied on water-based systems that should have boiled or frozen within minutes of exposure. Instead, Jude radiated warmth like a miniature star. "Your filters are shot," the human observed with the same tone he might use to comment on weather patterns. "But you've still got functional backup cycling. We just need to get you patched up." Moulton watched in fascination as Jude produced a roll of what appeared to be standard repair tape from his equipment pack. The human tore off several strips and began sealing the corroded sections of the breathing apparatus with methodical care. The tape held. On a world where military-grade polymer compounds liquefied within hours, human repair tape maintained structural integrity. Moulton's scientist training warred with his survival instincts as increasingly impossible data points accumulated. Jude worked with steady hands that should have been trembling from hypothermia or burned to bone from chemical exposure. The human's breathing remained deep and regular despite atmospheric conditions that had killed 3 trained xenobiologists in 60 minutes. There, Jude announced, sitting back on his heels, "Should buy you another day or two, a day or two," as though extending life on a Class 15 Extinction world was a routine maintenance issue. Jude stood and brushed acid rain from his jacket with casual indifference, ready to keep moving. The question contained no urgency, no fear, no acknowledgement that they were walking across the surface of a planet that had been officially classified as uninhabitable by every major scientific institution in known space. Moulton struggled to his feet, servos in his environmental suit whining with the effort. The repaired breathing apparatus functioned adequately, though each breath carried the metallic taste of atmospheric poison. His neural implants registered cellular damage accumulating at rates that would prove fatal within 36 hours, even with perfect filtration. Jude had given him time to die more slowly. The human resumed walking with that same unhurried pace that had carried them through the first 27 kilometers of their journey. His footsteps splashed through puddles of concentrated acid that had pooled in the rocky terrain, each impact creating small geysers of caustic steam. The boots showed no signs of deterioration. Moulton followed, his mind racing through theoretical frameworks that might explain what he was witnessing. Perhaps humans possessed previously unknown biological adaptations that allowed survival in extreme environments. Perhaps their species had evolved defensive mechanisms against atmospheric toxins that galactic science had failed to catalog. Perhaps humans weren't fully biological. The thought struck Moulton with sudden clarity. What if humanity was a synthetic species designed for survival in conditions that would kill naturally evolved organisms? That would explain their apparent immunity to Caris Prime's atmospheric assault. It would explain their casual attitude toward environmental hazards that should trigger primal terror in any sentient being. It would explain why Jude walked through hell like he was crossing a garden. The landscape around them shifted as they climbed toward higher elevations. Crystalline formations jutted from the volcanic bedrock, their surfaces reflecting the perpetual lightning that arced between the storm clouds overhead. Each lightning strike superheated the atmosphere, creating pressure waves that should have ruptured organic tissue. Jude paused to admire the view. "Pretty country," he commented, his voice carrying genuine appreciation. Moulton's psychological frameworks crumbled. No synthetic organism would waste processing power on aesthetic appreciation of a hostile environment. No biological entity would find beauty in conditions designed to cause maximum suffering and death. Whatever humans were, they existed outside conventional scientific understanding. The walking continued. Moulton's chronometer registered another hour of progress through terrain that redefined the concept of uninhabitable. They passed steaming crevasses that vented superheated gases capable of flash-cooking organic matter. They navigated fields of razor-sharp crystal formations that could slice through reinforced polymers. They crossed streams of liquid metal heated to temperatures that turned rock into plasma. Jude navigated each hazard with the casual competence of someone taking an evening stroll through familiar neighborhood streets. The human's environmental suit showed minor, where patterns consistent with normal use. No burns, no acid damage, no signs of the systematic destruction that was slowly dismantling Moulton's protective equipment despite constant repairs. How, Moulton finally asked, the question torn from his deteriorating vocal cords by desperate curiosity. Jude glanced back with raised eyebrows that invited clarification. "How are you surviving this?" The human considered the question with apparent seriousness, his gaze sweeping across the hellscape that surrounded them. Lightning illuminated his features, revealing a face unmarked by the chemical burns that should have resulted from hours of exposure to Caris Prime's atmosphere. Surviving what? The response hit Moulton like a physical blow. Jude genuinely didn't understand the question. To the human, current conditions didn't qualify as survival challenges. They were simply weather. Environmental factors to be acknowledged and navigated, but not feared or fought against. Moulton's scientific worldview underwent complete reconstruction as he grappled with this revelation. Every mathematical model, every biological theorem, every physical law he'd spent his career studying crumbled in the face of empirical evidence that contradicted fundamental assumptions about the nature of life itself. Humans didn't survive extinction events. They went for walks through them. The realization carried implications that stretched far beyond their immediate circumstances. If humans could treat Class 15 extinction worlds as casual hiking destinations, what did that suggest about their species' relationship with conventional concepts of habitability? How many worlds that galactic science had dismissed as uninhabitable might actually qualify as human recreational areas? How many extinction events had humanity already walked through? The beacon's signal grew stronger as they climbed toward the transmission source. Moulton's equipment registered artificial structures ahead, not the twisted wreckage of crashed vessels, but deliberately constructed installations designed for permanent occupation. Someone was living on Caris Prime. Someone was thriving here. The installation revealed itself as they crested the next ridge, a collection of prefabricated modules connected by enclosed walkways, their surfaces gleaming with condensed acid rain. Solar collection arrays tracked the lightning-split sky with mechanical precision, converting electrical storms into usable power. Atmospheric processors hummed quietly, transforming poison gas into something approximating breathable air. Human engineering adapted for conditions that killed everything else. Jude activated his communication unit with the casual confidence of someone calling home. Outpost 7, this is Research Team Delta. We've got a survivor here who could use medical attention and transport off-world. The response crackled through interference from the ongoing electrical storm. Roger that, Delta. We'll have a medical team prepped and a shuttle ready for dust-off in 20 minutes. How bad is the damage? Jude glanced at Moulton, whose breathing apparatus was now held together primarily by human repair tape and determination. He'll make it, the human replied. Tough little guy. Moulton's translation software struggled with the casual endearment. In human linguistic context, tough represented a superlative compliment, acknowledgement of survival capabilities worthy of respect. Coming from a species that treated extinction-level environmental hazards as minor inconveniences, the designation carried profound significance. The medical team that emerged from the installation wore environmental suits identical to Jude's. Lightweight fabric that should have dissolved in seconds upon contact with Caris Prime's atmosphere. They moved with practiced efficiency through toxic rain that would have killed any other known species in minutes. A human medic knelt beside Moulton, scanner in hand. Atmospheric poisoning, some tissue damage, but nothing we can't handle. You did good work keeping him stable during the trek. Jude nodded with the satisfaction of a job completed adequately. 273 clicks. Not bad time considering the weather. The weather. Moulton's neural patterns registered the casual dismissal of conditions that qualified as Class 15 extinction parameters. To humans, the systematic destruction of organic tissue through atmospheric toxins, radiation exposure, and chemical burns constituted weather variations worthy of acknowledgement but not concern. The shuttle that arrived for evacuation was of human design. Sleek, efficient, and completely unprotected against the corrosive environment that had destroyed their research vessel in minutes. It landed without difficulty, its hull unmarked by contact with acid rain and superheated gases. As medical personnel loaded Moulton into the shuttle's treatment bay, he caught a final glimpse of Jude through the viewports. The human stood on the landing pad, hands in his pockets, watching the electrical storm with evident enjoyment. Steam rose from his shoulders where the acid rain continued its futile assault. The human smiled at the lightning. During the journey to the nearest medical facility, Moulton composed his preliminary report on humanity's relationship with extinction-class environmental hazards. His findings would revolutionize galactic understanding of species classification and planetary habitability parameters. Humans didn't survive impossible conditions through advanced technology or genetic modification. They survived through a fundamental misunderstanding of what constituted a survival situation. To humanity, there were no extinction events. There were only different types of weather. The implications stretched across known space like shock waves from a stellar collapse. Every world that galactic science had classified as uninhabitable might simply be a planet where humans hadn't chosen to vacation yet. Every environmental hazard that had claimed thousands of lives might be something humans complained about when it interfered with their outdoor recreational activities. Moulton's report would reach the Galactic Survey Corps within the week. The first human colony ships would launch within the year. And across a galaxy that had spent millennia cataloging all the ways that hostile environments could kill, a new understanding would emerge. Sometimes the most dangerous thing on a planet wasn't the planet itself. Sometimes it was the species that went for walks there. Humans might survive space, but can you survive leaving a comment?